It's August 27th, 2019. This is my side yard. This was all grass when I moved in. It was like a 4-year update. This one needs a little bit of water maybe. Salvia regula, I think this is, the mountain sage. It is not a Salvia gregii. This is sweet almond verbena. More sweet almond verbena, some of my favorite scents though. This is a crepe myrtle that just won't die. It's on its last legs. It doesn't know it yet, but I'm gonna kill it here probably next week. This is a plumbago, just for a little color back here because there's a lot of greenery here. And also these are typically red and white. The salvia regulas on each end are red and white. And then this is a chives, garlic chives that I grew from seed. Several years old, and it really likes it here. I think I'm gonna leave it here. You can kind of see the rest of the side yard over there, all the way up to there, and then this way. That's what we'll talk about. So, update here. I find it's a lot easier to grow these from a branch in a pot that's weighed down than I do trying to dig up cuttings or take cuttings. Or I've tried propagating sweet almond verbena so much it's not worked. Nursery. This is the plant nursery. These are cuttings that I've taken. You can see the various stuff here. Texas Sage, Lantana, Greg's Mistflower, Mystic Spire Sage, tons of flame acanthus. Love that stuff. Great hummingbird plant. Good way to take up space because it kind of flops over. It's very wide. These are Salvia regulas. They're white ones. I don't have any white ones. I need some white. I want some red, white, and blue wildflowers. That's going to be my white backbone. Pride of Barbados. Love that. This is a, oh man, I can't remember now. It's a sage. It starts with an L. And, it's a Forsythia sage. I've never had one before. And before I have something and I put it in the ground, I want to see if it's deer going to eat it. Well, deer didn't eat it, but it kind of got big and I wasn't sure what environment to put it in. And now that I see the growth pattern, I'll put it somewhere, but it's going to have to wait till fall. So it's in a nice big pot, saucer. Esperanza down there, red one. And those are onions over here. You can't tell, but those are onions in there. And Mexican feathergrass. There's a sedum, I believe. That was actually a volunteer, and I just put it in the pot. These are yarrows, and I'd never had yarrow before, so I wanted to see what they would do and how they look and the textures and everything. So I know where I'm going to put them now, how I'm going to use them. These are tropical sages. I'm just going to add these to the tropical sages I'm trying to propagate. I like this plant, and I want more. These are 3 mature ones, so I'm going to add it to the mix. It's a black and blue sage. I'm pretty excited to put in the ground. It's just barely grew from like anything, so I'm pretty excited about that. Vegetable garden here. I do have some New Zealand spinach over here that's growing, and the New Zealand spinach is pretty xeric actually. It tastes good. You can see I've eaten this one mostly, and then this is what it should look like, but I've eaten most of that one. And then I've got some Egyptian walking onions in the back. Some Egyptian walking onions over here in the back. These get no water at all. Those in the back get none. These do get water, and you can see the difference. They're very xeric, but they'll come back in October, but it's just the heat. And you can see the pine mulch here. I've got more pine mulch to put on here, but it's all pine mulch. I like for it to permeate. You can see garlic chives here. I've got these here because if deer approach this area, they hate garlic, and they especially hate onions. I want them to just come to this area and hate everything they smell right here. And they hate all these sages. So I try and put pungent plants on the outside so that as they come around, they won't, they'll just leave them alone. I'm trying to get a couple of succulents growing here. Here's part of the sedum. I didn't realize that this was the same plant as this when it was a volunteer. I thought it was rosemary. And so I've got a little succulent there too. And neither one of them is really taking on. It's like the 3rd year. Over here we've got baby blue eyes. There's 5 of them. You can see kind of right there, that, another one here, another one here, another one here. And I'm going to divide those in the spring as soon as they come up. and I'm going to hope to make 9 of them. So make it a little bit bigger. It's a nice show in the spring. Right now it's pretty dormant. Chili patine and a sunflower, Maximilian sunflower over there. Maximilian sunflower is a volunteer. I'm going to take the seeds and put them where I want them. So there you have it. This is a pineapple guava, and it serves as my nursery shade. So the sun comes in from over there, and it comes right here as nursery shade. Perfect. More of the side yard. This is a vitex. Lots of hummingbirds and butterflies here. That's actually a hummingbird nest right there. Right there. I left that branch. You can see I took most of that up there. I left that branch because of that nest. That's the only reason it's still there. This Texas Sage has a dead branch in the middle, but ultimately it's great. This is an Dorado Texas Sage. It is very silver. It is my favorite Texas Sage. I actually like the native one better, but I think this is as close to the native as you can get. I've looked at the leaf structure and I've held it up color-wise, and this looks very similar to the native in the Pecos Valley. You see I've got a lot of Greg's mistflower here, right? It's very impressive. Every morning there's half a dozen butterflies. Some mornings there'll be 20. It's crazy. You can see right in the middle there's a volunteer tropical sage. I'll pull those seeds and go put them where I want them. I just like that plant. Zinnias. This is an annual bed only because I ran out of Greg's mistflower to put over here. Next year I'll put mistflower there and there and there. I'll fill that mistflower, and next year this is going to be filled too. This is a new Gold Lantana. It's not blooming right now. Sandanqua Vibirnum's seen better days, that's for sure. More garlic chives I planted from seed. You might ask why. Well, first off, they're edible, and I understand you could eat that many and you'd be sick of onions. I get it, but they also have a nice little bloom on them when they do bloom. There's not a lot of whites. Look at this white bloom. This is a first year. I transplanted it. So it's first year transplant. But this right here has been here since day one. And this is a 4 or 5 year chive. This is what it will look like. You can see the blooms coming up, right? Blooms coming up. It will eventually fill in. I'm going to put some more here. But deer hate it. And this is supposed to be deer country. Deer sleep in my yard. So I have to have, I feel that the deer pressure is less whenever I put things like this here. That is an Australian bottlebrush, and you can see it's frozen down to the ground. That was part of the plan, the master plan. Unfortunately, I think this is going to be the last spring for the Australian bottlebrush. I might even pull it up this winter, but right there in that almost exact spot, I'm going to put another Anacacho Orchid. I love this plant. It reminds me of the Pecos River, Devil's River Valley. You can see the black pots back there. I'm trying to grow 2 more Anacacho Orchids. I don't know if it'll work, but I'm giving it a shot. These Esperanzas have grown on me. I wasn't a big fan of these Esperanzas, but look around. There's not a lot blooming right now. These Esperanzas are killing it. It is July. It is August, end of August. It is hot. You can see and probably hear that we're getting a little sprinkle right now. This is the first measurable rain we've had the first rain we've had in 60 days. It's so dry right now. So these things are killing it for being that dry. You can see here a native persimmon tree, very old, 135 years I was told. And if you notice over here, there's posts holding it up. Hopefully you didn't notice. If you didn't notice, that's excellent. That means I did a good job. One of the trees fell down, and I cut it, and I made Ys out of the posts, and I propped up the tree with these. It really blends in with the tree. This tree right here was leaning quite heavily and leaning all the way over. So I pruned a lot of branches off, trying to see, I was trying to focus on this, right? This is the beauty of it. This was trimmed off several years ago, really trying to focus on the branch beauty and just lighten the load. But ultimately I just kept losing them. These just kept falling over. They're at such an angle and they're falling. Well, so this right here, another one. So that is in the ground, 18 inches deep. There's 4 inches of river stone at the bottom, and then sand on top of that, all the way up to the ground level is sand. And it's like beach sand, so that it drains really well. And around that, because I didn't want the ground to compress, is a 5-gallon bucket with a bottom cut out. So it acts as sort of like, well, the PVC will hopefully hold the ground in better, so the ground won't just move and compress so much. So that's working so far, and I hope you didn't notice. This used to be, in case you wonder what this used to be a vegetable bed. I'm going to turn this into the path right here. This is going to be the path, and I'm going to put another Anacacho orchid here and over here. And so this is getting turned into path, and I'm going to use this soil this fall for planting. A little purple heart over here. I really keep my eye on this. This stuff can really get out of control, and I bet this is already trying to root. Yeah, you can see this stuff's trying to root here. But it's a cool color contrast. It grows in the shade. It's a good indicator that deer have been here, because deer will eat this. And so I kind of leave this here because I can tell if deer have been in this yard. It's one of the few things they'll eat in the yard. Canna lilies. Big design thing that I've just kind of discovered is using small leaves and big leaves in contrast. And I didn't want to use big leaves with thorns. Everybody's doing that, and I just thought it would look like everyone else. I wanted to use big leaves that invited you to touch them, like this. This is a very soft, tropical looking leaf. This is one of the most xeric plants I have. I think I've watered it 3 or 4 times this year. I watered it in, obviously, then watered them 3 or 4 times. These are canna lilies. And I've got small ones here, big ones here. Next year I'm hoping to divide them and put them in the back. At the Natural Gardener, they had 125 in their garden. I'm hoping to get 25 to start, and I don't have that right now. This is a zinnia, more zinnias. Again, annual color, because I wanted to put Xemexia all along this edge, but I don't think Xemexia is going to reach. And so yeah, this is a really excellent one, Xemexia. It's never really in full bloom. It's actually really blooming heavily right now. It's always kind of constantly blooming like this. So you can see there's always a few flowers on it, but it's never fully covered. So it's just kind of what it looks like. But what it is it's thick, and it keeps the buffalo grass from getting in. Same thing with this here. This Texas sage right here is very thick and will keep the buffalo grass from getting past, or not the buffalo, the Bermuda grass. These are Alyssa's wildflowers. She really likes purple cone flowers, and they're also helping to keep the Bermuda out better than I expected. I mean, it's pretty dense in there, and they're doing a very good job of keeping the Bermuda down for sure. So this is sensitive briar. This is the plant, you touch it and it has a reflex. Touch it and the leaves close. And you can see the leaves are closing right now. I love the flower on this. So do bees. Bees absolutely love that guy right there. Lantana. You know, everyone says you're supposed to trim your lantana. This is supposed to be a monarch magnet, whatever. I've got enough butterfly plants here, and especially the Greg's mistflower down there, way at the end, that this should be enough of a this whole garden should be enough of a magnet. But there's 2 different kinds of lantana in here, and I don't shear them, I don't water them, they just grow. These were all volunteers, and I moved them over here into a garden. I've got several more over there that you saw in the plant nursery. They're going to go over here. This is mealy blue sage. And the mealy blue sage is looking pretty hurting right now, not gonna lie. That is pretty hurting. I'm not sure that this is gonna be able to be a focal point plant if it's gonna look like this. Although these are all 1st-year plants. This is a 2nd-year plant. This is a 2nd-year plant. So you can see they look a lot more full, but the 1st-year plants are all hurting. So we'll see. I might have to put in more. There's a few tropical sages poking up back there. Tropical sage here and there. This is milkweed. Milkweed for the butterflies. Back there are tuberosas. There's kind of a lowered patch. I don't know if you can tell that's lower. Right here is a raised bed. It's raised up about 3 inches. Settled a little bit, so maybe it was raised up to 6. Maybe it's down to 3 or 4. And these are antelopehorns right here, except for one right there is a tropical sage, and that is tropical sage. The rest of these are antelopehorns. Those are Asclepias Tuberosa. And I think I said that right. Over here we have a Russian sage. Really like the texture of the Russian sage, but it just is just, I don't know, when you see it in northern climates, it is big and thick and full. And then down here it says it grows, but I've tried it in different environments. This doesn't even get full sun here. You can see. Yeah, I know I kind of sound complainy right now, but this is on a woodland edge right now, and it's still not giving me full. So I don't know. Maybe the Russian sage. This stuff has to be xeric for me, and if it's not xeric, it won't work. So the Russian might be done after the end of this year. We'll see. Although it has been 60 days with no rain. I'm sure I'd look pretty dreadful after 60 days with no rain too. Another one of the Esperanzas, and you can see it's the only thing really blooming. I mean, the Zinnias and the Esperanzas, some Xemexia, but that's kind of minor. So as much as I really like the yellow Esperanzas, we got to give it up to the orange ones too, because they really show off right now. This is a mother plant for the red sages that I use, and I have tons of cuttings in the front bed. This is where I've gotten a third of them, half of them, and just keeps producing. Nice big plant. It's definitely old. Time for a shear back, I think. Maybe in the fall I'm going to shear all my salvias back, but it's a very good plant, typically red. Mountain laurels right here, 2 mountain laurels, looking good. I do nothing for these guys. You can see the light green growth. That's new stuff. That's new. That just happened like in the last 6 weeks. New. I mean, it put on growth as the heat came in. Can you believe that? Look at that. Look at this little stuff right there, that light green, see that dark green? See that light green? That light green, and that light green, that light green. Happened in the last 6 weeks when it's been 100 degrees. That's a tough plant, I like that. This is a fig, this Texas Everbearing fig, it's 2nd year. I've been told that they'll get 3 to 5 feet. I've got to keep it a little more moist. I've got to do a better job with that. It's been really dry, and I should be giving it water more, I think. I'm treating it too xeric. But hopefully next year we'll get fruit. So it'll be a fig fruit. I'm pretty excited about that. I do love me some figs. Back here are blueberries, and you can see the blue buttons. Those are irrigation valves. It's an irrigation valve. So I've got blackberries back here. One of the few thorns I allow in my garden, but these are native, and people love blackberries. So yeah, got some blackberries back here. Pretty excited to pick and eat these. This is only they have been in there not even 1 year now. I planted them last October, or no, not even, like last February. So these are real young. It is what it is. There's a Texas red oak right here. I don't know if it's a Shumard red oak or what kind of red oak it is. This is such a slow growing tree. My goodness, it's slow growing. That first V was its 1st year down there, that first V. There's his 2nd year, there's his 3rd year. Oh my gosh, it's growing so slow. I've been told that in their 4th year, they will put on some height. And what I see down here is bulking up of the trunk. I really noticed that this trunk is not the same size as this. So I'm hoping it's about to shoot up, get a growth spurt. I put on some compost, and I've been watering it as much as I water the fig. So yeah, it'd be nice if 10 years from now I had a nice 10 or 12 foot tall Texas red oak right here. Give me a little color in the fall. I know the mountain laurels will be fine with it. So this is the side garden, and all of this was grass when I moved in summer 2014. Started construction in spring 2015, and I had to take a year off because of a secondary family project. But this is, I'm very happy with it. Overall, very happy with it. Side yard.